Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to explore a truly fascinating esoteric tradition, building an inner sanctuary before you actually need it. I mean, if you've ever felt that absolute desperate need for quiet, unshakable space when the world around you is just spinning out of control, well, this mystical practice was designed exactly for you. Let's get into it.
So, let's start with a universal human feeling. Think about a situation at the edge of your life that's turning. You know the feeling, right? It hasn't quite hit yet, but you can see it right there on the horizon. Maybe it's a relationship going south, a bad pattern gathering steam, or just a looming period of instability. It begs the question, what do you actually do when you see that storm forming in the distance? Well, that brings us to the core of today's topic, Sitael. In this ancient tradition, Sitael literally translates to the refuge of God. But here's the thing. The old teachers didn't see this as some random refuge you just accidentally stumble into when things get rough. No, this is an interior architecture you intentionally construct while you still have the time to build it. It's literally the code of the fortress. It gives you this firm ground so that when the storm finally does hit, your shelter is already standing strong. Here is our blueprint for the explainer today. We'll be moving through 5 phases. 1. The architecture of safety. 2. The ancient source code. 3. When to seek refuge. 4. Activating the sanctuary. And finally, number 5, strengthening the walls. All right, let's jump straight into section 1, the architecture of safety. So Sitael acts as the absolute first code of the power gate. Think about it. Before you can manifest courage or justice or even deflect harm, you need stable ground to stand on, right? When you run this frequency, the walls of your inner sanctuary actually become present. And here's the absolute key takeaway. This practice is not about hiding or withdrawing from reality, not at all. It's about establishing an interior architecture that the outer world literally cannot touch. Because from that stable center, you can actually handle the world so much more steadily. But the tradition pairs this fortress building with a quiet, kind of secondary capacity, the revelation of truth. The old teachers were super explicit about this. A fortress built on an illusion, it's gonna crumble. You simply cannot build a shelter against something you refuse to acknowledge. So when this Sitael frequency runs cleanly, you might suddenly recognize a hidden motive in a friend, or maybe even an uncomfortable pattern in yourself. Real refuge inherently requires this clear seeing. Okay, moving right along to section 2, the ancient source code. Behind this Sitael frequency are some incredibly precise mystical data points. We're looking at the root Hebrew letters forming Sit, its angelic form Sitael, its gematria or numerical value of 79, its placement in the Sephira of Keter, and its astrological decan in Aries. This whole breakdown gives us the exact historical and esoteric context for the work we're exploring today. Let's zoom in on those 3 Hebrew letters drawn from the ancient Red Sea verses. Because in this tradition, these aren't just letters written on a page, they're actual architectural tools. Reading from right to left, you have Samech, which acts as the supporting pillar holding the whole building up. Then Yod, the spark of life right at the center. And finally, Tet, the enclosure, visually curving around its own interior to represent the good. The tradition literally views these as the building blocks constructing your protected inner space. Now, to really anchor this structure down, the tradition uses Psalm 91 verse 2. This is the great Hebrew psalm of protection, spoken with incredible gravity over sleeping children, soldiers, and travelers for thousands of years. The practitioner actually uses this specific verse to officially name and claim their fortress before starting the work. Keep in mind, it doesn't promise that trouble won't ever come. What it promises is that the trouble will not reach the one who has taken refuge. And this ties directly into the Sefer Yetzirah, the oldest Jewish mystical text. It teaches that letters compound to build the actual structure of reality. So the ancient source material views the letters of Sitael as highly active agents. They are not passive text. They are tangibly laying down the foundation stones of your personal protective field. Which leads us to section 3, when to seek refuge. This list breaks down the highly practical, everyday situations that really call for this kind of structural protection. You turn to Sita when a difficult situation is brewing in the distance. You use it when you're entering a demanding season, like a super tense legal proceeding, a complex negotiation at work, or let's be real, even a highly stressful family holiday gathering. You can also use it when misfortune feels systemic instead of random, or when you're dealing with dangerous individuals and you absolutely need structural boundaries to restrict their access to you. But honestly, perhaps the most profound application of Sitael is this. For anyone who inherited a life where a safe space was never established, whether emotionally, spiritually, or physically, Sitael offers a real tool to construct the refuge they were denied. It kickstarts the deep psychological work of retrospectively building the sanctuary that absolutely should have been there all along. All right, let's get practical. Section 4, activating the sanctuary. To activate this, you just need to sit in a space that is entirely yours for about 15 minutes. It doesn't need to be fancy, just a corner or a chair where you can definitively say, okay, this space is mine. From there, you follow 4 specific steps to raise your sanctuary walls. Receive the letters, sound the name, enter the field, and seal the code.
First up, you receive the letters. You visualize them from right to left, Samik, Yod, Tet. You just let that sequence register as a held space. Next, you sound the name softly. You say CT, and then CTIL. And you want to let that sound land very low in your body, down in your belly, your hips, your legs. Because it's a structural name, sounding it 3 or 4 times deeply is how you actively set the heavy stones of your fortress.
Step 3 is entering the field. So you close your eyes and actually bring that gathering trouble to mind. But, and this is crucial, you do not try to solve it. Instead, you turn your attention to the space immediately around your body and let the architecture of Sitael rise up. For you, it might look like a sphere of light, a walled garden, or maybe a heavy stone room. The shape is totally personal to you. What really matters is feeling the absolute difference between being safely inside this structure versus being outside of it. And finally, Section 5, strengthening the walls. You see, Sitael's work is entirely cumulative. A single activation on day 1 lays down the foundation. Practicing it daily over week 1 actually thickens those walls. And a full month of practice, that builds something that permanently stands. Unlike those spiritual quick fixes, this practice really rewards patient, repeated use, where every single session literally adds another heavy stone to your refuge. To finish the whole activation, you speak that Psalm 91 anchor verse we talked about earlier. Then, you place both hands flat against whatever surface you're sitting on, pressing gently into the physical structure holding you up. You take one slow, grounded breath. And that's it. The code is sealed. The sanctuary is built. You've just proven to yourself that you have the power to create an inner world that the outer world simply cannot destroy. So as we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a slightly provocative thought. Now that you have this esoteric blueprint and the ancient materials in hand, what inner architecture are you going to choose to construct before your next storm arrives? Are you going to wait for the winds to howl, or will you build the unshakable sanctuary you deserve starting today? Thanks so much for exploring this with me, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Thank you for watching. If something in this resonated with you, then you're already closer than you think. If you're ready to go deeper, there's a link below to my book, Quantum Angel Codes, The 72 Hidden Names of God. This isn't theory, it's a framework you can actually use. Tap the link below and step into it.